Red light, green light, red light, green light, red light, green light, red light, green light, red
light. Season 4, episode 135 of the Soul Sessions with TV star Umar Mohammed. Scene take 1. We'll mark that. Well, folks, welcome here to another episode of the Soul Sessions. Grab your pints and pull up a chair. I'm your host, Soul, but with me today, he is a TV star himself. He's the Asian sensation, and I respect that, obviously. Umar Mohammed, welcome to the show. I figured this would
be a bit crackly there. I don't know what happened there, so I'll just do my own intro if that's all right. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is the Asian sensation, the Bollywood blockbuster, the Desi Debonair. You might have seen me win $5,000 on Family Fortunes. My name is TV's Umar Mohammed. Come on, look at that. You've got the setup and everything. Where's it? You've got this nice little. You got the logos. I can see the logos on the bottom, but you can't even get my introductions right. Come on.
Times be tense in these situations, and I'm hungover from the night before. My antics, I will blame them on. But you know, usually when I'm no on the straight edge sides of life, sadly. But I know, Omar, I usually begin these obviously with a guess, and every story has a beginning and every yada yada yada. But I think with us, there's a bit of a thing we need to iron out first, obviously, because I've had the current hardest man in Fife on the show, Hunter Samson, and Hunter said some words have been spilled, and I know a PWR, Rise of Power, things happened. I mean, hey, look, you're a guest of the show now, so I'll be man enough and say my apologies. You gained my respect for this episode, of course, being on my platform, but I'm touch upon that with what Hunter said about you, being in your, you're in his head, you're in his head, all that situation. What's going on there, my friend?
Right. Well, first of all, I'm glad that you apologized at the beginning of this, because trust me, if you hadn't apologized, I would have just ended the call straight away. Okay? Because I saw your podcast with Hunter Samson, the hardest man in Fife, and you called him that, the current hardest man in Fife. It's Tommy Cartel. His entrance video still says Tommy Cartel. Okay, so let's just get that matter of fact. Hunter Samson. Okay, I don't know the March show. There was the Fatal Fife Way. Yeah.
Yes.
There's 5 people in that match. Me. There was Landon Riley. There was Kate Calloway. There was Daisy Jenkins, and there wasn't anyone else announced in that match. Okay, everyone, we all did our fancy little videos. We did a nice little promo, hyped it up. Hunter Samson just says that he's going to be at Dawn of Power. He doesn't say that he's in the match. He comes out and ruins my moment. Because I was the hardest man in Fife, technically. I am the hardest man in Fife. Because I beat Daisy Jenkins. I outlasted everyone else. And by all intensive purposes, Hunter Samson didn't enter that match. Therefore, he doesn't count in that match. So with all due respect, Hunter Samson's a fraud. And anyone else who wants to say that he's the hardest man in Fife is a fraud as well.
Good God. I mean, it's a fair point.
Does that answer your question? You want to know the beef between me and Hunter Samson? Does that answer
it? It answers it to the fullest of T's, but obviously, some may say, he technically is, I mean, yes, you outlasted and you were announced and everything happened, but Hunter came out and ended up, putting you away, shall they say, and now gaining the moniker. And I mentioned, with Rise of Power as well, you would come out with some individuals, a part of your association, going after Hunter, and now there's been announced for a lumberjack match at the next PWR show. I mean, Omar, I understand where you're coming from here. Obviously, there are points that point into your direction of, you should technically have the title of the hardest man in Fife. But with Hunter now owning it, how does it feel to now be involved with a lumberjack match against Hunter?
Listen, it's a matchup that I've never been in. Well, actually, no. I disregard that. I was in a lumberjack match. Aberdeen WrestleZone at Comic-Con. I was in a lumberjack against the current, at that time, current WrestleZone heavyweight champion, lost by Aspen, and I took him to the limit in a lumberjack match. Hunter Samson, he chose the match. He's never been in one. So I feel like I've got the upper advantage there. And I've already picked my guys. My guys are my entourage, people that I have seen at the showcases at Power Pro that, have impressed me. So I thought, let's give them a chance. They want some exposure. Let's give them a chance. You got Jack Hunt in there, a legitimate power lifter. Who's not to say that he can't go toe-to-toe with Hunter Samson and take him out on his own? That's why he's in my entourage.
Hey.
You got Greg Avenis, again, part of the Absolute. Again, a top-tier star. He's an emerging talent, and that's what Sensational Scenes Enterprises is all about, is bringing emerging talents in and giving them some exposure.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, obviously Hunter hasn't announced or said if anyone's going to be in his side for this lumberjack match, but Omar, from your side, it seems like you've really became a pillar of a community. You've brought in individuals to rise up, with your star power. It seems like you're a very good man for the PWR community.
I'd like to hope so. I started that when Power Pro, formerly FPWA, started. I was one of the guys who started there from the very beginning. The first match that ever was, branded as an FPWA match was me versus Talon Jr. And I came out the victor, which made me, to be fair, the star, the poster boy of Power Pro. Times have changed. I went to WrestleZone. I made a name for myself over there, came back. And it seems to me that a lot of people at Power Pro now feel that they're now the top stars, if you should say. So it's time to, reevaluate what the priorities are and make sure that I'm back on top.
Well, hey, I mean, being on top, for yourself, a star of your caliber, I think is a good way to go as well. But obviously, with PWR, there is a champion. Frank Galloway is the champion right now. He holds the title. And, he had that great match at Rise of Power. And, it seems like who's next to stand up to, Frank? And obviously, you are dealing with Hunter right now. But I have to say because you're both guests of the show and I'm going to remain neutral, if you emerge the victor and heck, even gain the title of hardest man in Fife,
which I will.
Indeed. Does it seem reasonable that you should go after Frank and his belt?
I mean, if we're being honest, back in December when I first made my debut at, I think it was twas a night before Christmas.
Yes.
Was that yeah. For all intents and purposes, if the championship should have been created then, and I should have won it then. Frank Gallows, obviously a very top tier talent at Power Pro. I've got nothing against Frank Gallows, if I'm being honest. I actually quite like the guy. He's got, his video quality and his promos are exceptional, which is something that I quite enjoy seeing when I see a promo. If I see someone doing a promo at the back of a wall at a certain gym, let's say Hunter Samson, I'm not impressed. But Frank Gallows, he's got something, So for him to be, I guess, at the moment, the poster boy for Power Pro, I'll accept that. But when I'm done with Hunter Samson, that title is in my eyesight.
Hey, good to hear as well. I always love to see guests going after gold and having it around their waist. It's a great thing to see as well. But obviously, Twas a Night at the Wrestling, last year was a great show indeed. And I know you were there, obviously, and Zachary Swift, in the final match of another guest, Johnny Lyons. Great man, great stuff for PWR. I do want to get your thoughts on Umar, just, being in Johnny's last match and getting to be a part of that celebratory moment for his career.
Oh, it was, with all intents and purposes, it was an honor. Yeah. Johnny Lyons, for anyone who doesn't know, trained me. He was my very first coach at W3L back in Kirkcaldy in 2017. He pretty much taught me everything that I knew. WrestleZone, when I went there for 2 years after I left FPWA, WrestleZone was created by Johnny Lyons. So it feels like nearly every point in my career that Johnny Lyons has had an impact in it. So to be part of this last match was an honor. I mean, I wish it was a singles match with Johnny Lyons personally selecting me, but Zachary Swift decided to get in there as well and, you know, try and meddle with me and Johnny Lyons. But Zachary, I hate giving credit to this guy because he screwed over what could have been, you know, a great last match for Johnny Lyons. But he's a star, you know. I appreciate someone who goes through method acting. You know, I don't know if that's something that you do, but, you know, a lot of the great actors go through a little bit of method acting, you know, Heath Ledger and all that. So to see Zachary Swift apply that to his character and think that he is a modern gentleman, I give kudos to that. So for Zachary Swift to be in there as well, Johnny Lyons' last match, it was emotional, to say the least. And it was at the end, Johnny Lyons, I did try and get in his head. You know, I hit him with his own move, the lion cutter. He kicked out because obviously he's the one who, if anyone's hitting the lion cutter, it's Johnny Lyons. So he did it better than me that night. He got his hand raised. At the end, I shook his hand, told him he was the better man and that I respected everything that he'd done for me.
Hey, a great sign of respect to a great man with what he's done for PWR and also Scottish wrestling in general. A true great man as well. Now, Omar, I know as well you've ventured out into other...
I just want to say as well that at Power Pro, I do help coach the wee wrestlers and juniors. And sometimes, Johnny Lyons takes the classes while I'm helping take the classes as well. And every single time that someone comes up to me and goes, "Oh, were you in Johnny Lyons' last match?" I go, "Yeah," and I slapped him in the face, just to show who's still the guy in Power Pro.
You are still the guy indeed. And there's always great minds within Power Pro as well. I've had many of them on the show, you know, from Zachary to Hunter to Daisy to Kate to Redfield and so many great others. I want to know from yourself, Omar, obviously with the great names I've mentioned there, and obviously, you know, Andy Roberts himself leading the charge, are there some individuals, you know, maybe they could learn from the TV sensation, you know, learn from your wisdom and ways and maybe elevate themselves to be like you?
I mean, anyone in Scottish wrestling should be learning from me. Because, you know, I'm a TV icon. Hunter Samson's about to deal with that when he faces me in September. Tommy Cartel, he's another guy that's very brash, very arrogant. You know, I quite like what he's doing. He feels like he should be on TV. I've heard rumblings that there could be something in the pipeline, you know, with my TV connections and all. Yeah. Who's to say he's not going to get another match? Daisy Jenkins, you know, we had another counter at Dawn of Power where I beat her and became hardest person in Fife. I would like a one-on-one match with her. You know, she's another exceptional talent going around pretty much the globe. You know, it's insane for someone who's had, 3 years? 3 years of, you know, training, in-ring experience to be able to go to Dubai, go to Sweden, go to Denmark, go anywhere and be able to showcase her talent. You know, it's fair play to her. I'm trying to think of anyone else. Andy Roberts, you know, the cornerstone, pretty much the guy in Power Pro. Tommy Cartel's had his chance against him. Frank Gal's had his chance against him. Jason Reed, I like my shot against Andy Roberts as well. You know, I feel like I've got a fair chance against them.
Right. Fair play indeed, and I think that would be an exceptional match to see as well. But obviously, you mentioned TV sensation and TV right now. It's in an interesting place. You know, we've seen within relation to wrestling, Raw is now moving to Netflix, joining the streaming world. Obviously, here in the UK and Europe, WWE Network will now be on Netflix as well. AEW is on TBS and TNT, which has been seeing a decreasing in ratings. TNA is on their own little platform as well with TV. I wonder for yourself, Omar, with TV nowadays in correlation to wrestling, do you think TV is still relevant or we are going into a world of fully streaming online?
I mean, coming from a, let's say, movie standpoint, just let's start. I prefer that movies are still in cinemas. Growing up, it was always a very exceptional experience going to the cinema with my family and watching the latest movie coming out. I think my first movie, I feel like anyone who knows me is probably going to think, oh, this makes sense now. But the first movie I think I remember seeing in the theaters was Cars. So, it makes sense given my love for cars. But I think we're going into a digital world right now. Everything's done via streaming. You saw like WWE's got their own shows. We're doing like live shows on Netflix now. Live shows WWE's now come to Netflix as well, of course. I feel like it's definitely going to branch out and give a whole lot more exposure to wrestling by being on Netflix, probably the biggest streaming service in the world. So I feel like there's a good chance to see more exposure, another boom period, I guess, if you want, for professional wrestling when Netflix gets its hold of it in 2025. Personally, I still want stuff to be in the theaters, still be on TV. It depends on if it brings more eyes to the product, I'm not against it.
Fair play indeed. It just means as well, if there's big deals being put in for streaming platforms like Netflix or Amazon Prime or HBO Max, that there's such a demand for wrestling and the eager eyes on it are so high. I mean, heck, we just saw in Scotland our first PLE with Clash at the Castle Scotland. It was a great show until the ending. Damn you, CM Punk. I want to know your thoughts, Omar, on Clash at the Castle Scotland. Do you think for the story the right ending happened, or do you think they should have gave the Scottish people what we deserved, especially with Germany knocking us out and destroying our hopes and dreams?
I mean, I was there. I was there at Clash of the Castle, so I got a first-hand experience into what happened. I was in one of the boxes at the back, with all, a couple of esteemed guests that I won't mention for confidential purposes. But the show was great. There was a lot of good wrestling. Great to see, girls like Piper Niven, Alba Fire, Kaylee Ray getting a chance. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, winning Isla Dawn. Yeah, I keep forgetting Isla Dawn and Kaylee Ray. Them winning the tag team titles, which was great. Scotland losing in the Euros was unfortunate. Fair play to Ludwig Kaiser for acknowledging that we were doing absolutely horrendous on that day. And yeah, with regards to the finish, I mean, would I have liked to seen Drew McIntyre win the title? Of course, that was one of the main purposes of going to that show, was to see Drew McIntyre win the WWE Heavyweight Championship. I get that. Same with one of my guys growing up. Even John Cena and like Randy Orton. So when he came out, I was annoyed, but then I was like, but CM Punk, he's my guy, so it's all right. And then he came out on the Celtic top as well on the kickoff show, which
that was a choice. Yeah. Some will love, some won't love. If you're Scottish and you live in Glasgow, you know why. Nonetheless, though, we've seen Drew get his, revenge, shall we say. Battered Punk, took his little charm with Punk and his wife AJ Lee and his dog Larry's name on it. Now it seems things are going to a boiling point for these two. I want to know from yourself, Omar, if you could see how this story ends, how would you like to see the rivalry of CM Punk and Drew McIntyre come to a conclusion?
I mean, that's an interesting question because it can happen. There's so many different endings. I think Drew McIntyre just announced himself for Money in the Bank. So who's to say that McIntyre doesn't win Money in the Bank, wins the title, him versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight title, and CM Punk winning, because CM Punk's my guy, so I'd like to see him win the World Heavyweight title. McIntyre obviously beating CM Punk as well. That would be another controversial outcome, but I wouldn't put it past them to get the job done. I mean, you still got Seth Rollins in the mix as well. He seems to like him, Punk, McIntyre. They all hate each other. I'm not against a triple threat as well between them all.
Hey, very true indeed. And also we've got Gunther as well. He won King of the Ring as well. So that's another name you have to throw in the mix. So there's a lot going on with that title.
100%. The way Gunther is approached, especially coming from the independents to WWE, has been amazing to watch. Because like seeing his matches, there's another Like you see any other match on the show and you say like that's a class wrestling match, and then you see a Gunther match and you think this is a whole nother level. Gunther is definitely, if I was picking my next world heavyweight champion that I would like to see, I would say Gunther. Yeah,
good pick as well. And you mentioned Gunther really cutting his teeth in the independent scene, and he really did that here in the UK with the likes of Progress and many other great companies here as well. I don't know for yourself, or when you obviously doing the training in the squared circle and then branching out for the independent scene here, especially here in Scotland, what was that like for you? Did you have some knowledge beforehand, or did you really just say, I'm going to throw myself in the deep end and see what I can catch?
I mean, I kind of had an idea of different promotions that I'd seen, on Facebook, on social media beforehand, before I started training. But then half the promotions that I ended up wrestling for just became word of mouth. Started at W3L, and then from there, because I wrestled a few guys who wrestled for another promotion, we won't mention them because they've done a few things wrong in the couple of recent years. End up wrestling for them. Because of that, end up wrestling for another promotion, WrestleZone as well. They took a chance on me very early at the start of my career, and I'm quite thankful that they did, because genuinely WrestleZone is probably one of my favorite places to work, and it's definitely given me more exposure into showcasing what I can do. Discovery Wrestling as well, obviously having a lot of it top independent talents coming in, especially even I think in a couple of weeks they've got Elijah coming along as well, and obviously it's owned by probably one of the biggest independent stars. Well, guess independent. He's signed with TNA. Joe Hendry. He's on top of the world at the moment. But yeah, it was all just kind of word of mouth for me. Which the more that I did research, the more that I started training and getting to know different wrestlers and seeing where they were training from. I can see obviously that promotion there. Okay, that's a promotion that I might want to go to somewhere down the line, and then ended up like 2 months later, I'm wrestling for that promotion. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So
it's great to hear indeed. And obviously, you mentioned Discovery there, and I had the previous owner of Discovery on the show twice beforehand, and to see what Discovery really built here, especially in Edinburgh, it's fascinating to see. And now obviously Hendry taking over and control, it's still fascinating. I still think Discovery has a lot of great aura around it as well. And obviously you mentioned Elijah there as well, but obviously with Joe Hendry, we believe in him. Obviously TNA as well. Maybe we could see more TNA stars come over the pond and wrestle here in Discovery. So I want to know, Omar, if you could see some TNA stars come over, is there any particular ones you would love to see come and wrestle in Discovery?
I'd like to see Ace Austin.
Ooh.
Ace Austin, I've enjoyed his stuff, especially when he started in TNA, well, Impact, as part of the X division as well. I enjoyed his work there. He would definitely be one of them. Let's see, I mean, you've got Nick Nemeth, formerly Dolph Ziggler. He's quite prominent in TNA at the moment, so I'd like to see him. I'm trying to think who else. Josh Alexander as well, another top name I'd like to see, especially in like Discovery Wrestling. That would be class.
No, hey, no doubt in my mind, I would very much love to see that happen as well. And it just shows that great things are happening here for the UK. With also the big companies as well. We mentioned WWE previously with Clash of the Castle Scotland, TNA when they were formerly Impact did a UK tour. And there's obviously AEW All In last year in London, and now they're coming back as well for a show in Cardiff with Dynamite and Collision taping, and then obviously All In as well. Or to see these big companies, especially put a spotlight on our scene, coming over and doing shows, and yeah, the ticket prices might be extortionate, but people are thriving out and driving to go and attend these shows and be a part of history and fun with the big companies. Does it make you feel proud to see the acknowledgement from the big companies, especially of the UK?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it definitely gives an exposure onto what Scotland and the UK can bring when it comes to being a crowd. You saw obviously the decibel numbers that Scotland was bringing in when Clash at the Castle happened as well. I think it was 85,000. I think that was the number for All In last year at Wembley. Yeah. So it shows that, even though everyone, well, not everyone, but I remember when a couple of years ago when obviously there was speaking out and stuff like that. That all happened, which was unfortunate. But it needed to happen. Everyone's kind of saying, "Oh, Scott, like British wrestling's dead." It's kind of showing now that there's it can come back. There's still some good left in the scene, especially when, of course, when TNA came to the UK last year, they did the two gut checks, one in Scotland, one in the UK, one in Coventry, and like you saw Emerson Jane wrestling for Impact as well. You saw Leon Slater get signed. Grado appeared, and it's like, all right, okay. It's still showing that when these companies come along, there's a chance for people that you train with, people that you know, getting a chance and getting some exposure, which, is great for everyone. It's good to see good people doing well.
Yeah, no, absolutely indeed. And it is a pleasure to see. I love, especially the Scottish wrestlers I've tracked to thrive and get those big opportunities as well. And you mentioned obviously Leon Slater there, young guy, getting that opportunity with TNA signed, and now he's apparently in a program as well. Mustafa Ali himself, the X Division champion, exceptional to see. And it just makes me so happy that our scene's getting, and wrestlers are getting acknowledged as well. Omar, for yourself, if maybe WWE or TNA or AEW came over and did another show in Scotland, and you were getting a chance to be on one of those shows, so say for WWE, TNA, and AEW, who from each company would you like to have a singles match with?
Ooh, singles match from each company. It could be. Can it be anyone?
Anyone.
Anyone?
Anyone.
All right. So from TNA, I mean, I'm surprised I didn't say this guy when you were talking about who I wanted to see from Discovery Wrestling. You just mentioned him there and now. I'd love to be in a match with Mustafa Ali. Yeah, especially given his advocacy, I guess, for Muslims in wrestling is someone that I've definitely aspired and looked up to when growing up on the scenes. So I'd love to be in a match with him for TNA. AEW. Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, I'd want to say, like Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay at the moment is doing amazing in AEW. I mean, I don't know what's happening for All In, but I'd like to see him get a good showing up at All In. But yeah, Will Ospreay, maybe Swerve Strickland as well. He's another top guy that I'm seeing in AEW. I really like his stuff. Just the presence. And I know aura is a big word that people talk about now, and when it comes to wrestling, he's definitely got an aura, especially with Prince Nana coming out with them. That'd be class. And for WWE, I was literally talking to one of the guys from WrestleZone about this. Randy Orton from WWE. He is right now the greatest of all time, in my opinion.
Man, Omar, I mean, you're going against a Viper, a Cerebral Assassin, a Mogul, and a presidential guy for the X divisions. You've got quite a long list on there, friend, and I respect it indeed. Now, and you do need to know.
You asked me who I wanted to wrestle, and I'm going after the greats. That's how you do it.
You respect it. You've got that drive. You've got that passion to succeed. You got to try and climb to the top. And if you don't succeed, but you can still say you tried to climb to the top and hang with the big boys. But
are you doubting me already?
Whoa! You're a guest of the show now. I'm showing the respect. I may have been a wee Egypt before, but my mind has now been enlightened.
We didn't talk about the fact that you were pretty much advocating for Hunter Samson to give me more brain damage. So I mean, you started off on a really poor foot, my man.
Well, I do have 2 left feet and no rhythm, so that's something particular with me. But I have apologized, and I will apologize again. I'm very, very sorry. I didn't have you on the show at that time, and I was just pushing above my weight. But now I'm respected, and I'm happy to have that now. But I will ask, obviously, Omar as well. You mentioned Will Ospreay, Swerve Strickland. At the time we are recording this, Forbidden Door is coming up in literally, I think, 2 days, and they are challenging for the AEW World Championship. Swerve is the champion, Ospreay is the challenger. Some people want to see Ospreay get the win and then go into All In as champion. Some people say that Swerve should still be champion and main event All In. For yourself, Omar, who do you think should walk out Sunday at Forbidden Door the AEW World Champion? Swerve Strickland or Will Ospreay?
I'm going to go with my head here, and I'm going to go say Swerve Strickland. Yeah, I don't think he's done being AEW champion. I don't think he wants to be done being AEW champion. So, I feel like he's going to get that. Was it the house call? I mean, he hit one on Ospreay I think last week, which looked absolutely devastating. So I'm not surprised if he hits it one more time on Sunday.
A beautiful move indeed. But then that raises up a question as well. Obviously, AEW have their Owen Hart tournament going on. There's many names put in there for it. Jay White, Jeff Jarrett, and so many great others. With the winner of that tournament getting a shot at the AEW World Championship at All In. Now, obviously, if Swerve is still the champion, great, awesome. I love Swerve. But there is that person in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. But as well, for Jeff Jarrett, there is a wild card. One random individual. Omar, who do you think will be the wild card in the Owen Hart tournament?
I mean, it doesn't matter. He's against Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett's going to win. Listen, Jeff Jarrett's been around for a long time, but he's genuinely one of the best promoters, best wrestlers in recent memory. When I was at All In last year as well, and see when My World hit scenes, that was sensational scenes. In regards to the wild card, I mean, there's a lot of free agents at the moment, especially coming from the independents, looking towards All In. It's a really tough one. I feel like with New Japan as well, it'd be cool to get someone like Gabriel Kidd in there. I feel like he'd be a solid wild card pick.
Yeah, and that would be good as well. And I know whatever he says, whoever at TNT has their finger on the bleeper is going to need to be very quick with that. But that would be fascinating. And also, you mentioned Jeff Jarrett there. I was at All In last year, and when My World did hit, I won't lie, there was a tear in my eye. It's a beautiful song, and I do love it myself. But there seems to be a presence on the internet that they all hate Jeff Jarrett. They think, he wasn't really beneficial to the business. People go on about the WCW times. I like him. I really like Jeff Jarrett. Heck, I put my hair on the line for him as well, and I ended up having to shave it because I lost. Nonetheless, yeah, I know, it was a long story. Bad times. But obviously with Jeff Jarrett, do you think he really is overhated by the internet wrestling community?
People nowadays they get jealous a lot quicker, I realize, than what happened beforehand. And I think partially it comes down to who is successful and who's not. Jeff Jarrett is one of the most successful wrestlers, promoters in the history of wrestling. And I feel like a lot of people, he might have, he started NWA TNA, essentially. We wouldn't have got an Impact. We wouldn't have got TNA. We wouldn't have got guys like AJ Styles getting a chance to dig their teeth into something. So for people to say that Jeff Jarrett is, worth a grain of salt is daft, because he genuinely is one of the best.
Yeah, absolutely indeed. And My World, it is a banger indeed as well. Well, I do want to ask another thing as well. Obviously, with our great UK scene, there are so many great UK belts. Progress, Rev Pro, Riot Cabaret, Academy, and Attack have some beautiful championships. I'm sure you want all of them as the TV star you are, but is there a particular championship in the UK scene you look at and think, that's my goal. That's the one I want to be in all the promo pictures. That's what I want to be in all the 8x10s I'll sell thousands of. What championship right now in the UK scene is your goal?
I'd say if we're going based at this current point in time, WrestleZone are doing I think they've just Vikil Valhalla just relinquished the Tri-Counties Championship for WrestleZone. I have no idea what they're planning on doing with regards to the status of the Tri-Counties Championship, but that's on my mind as the championship for me now that I want to go towards. In terms of long term, I mean, Progress Wrestling, they've got a really nice championship. They've got their hands in so many pies with regards to who they can bring in and who the main champions facing as well. I'd like to be champion there and get a chance to, face some international talent.
Oh, beautiful to see indeed. Well, TV's Umar Mohammed, it's been a pleasure to have you here on the Soul Sessions. But as another apology from myself and wrapping up here, I have told Hunter Samson that you are coming on my show and he would be watching this episode. So, as my apology to you, I want to give you some time. If Hunter is indeed watching and he's not doing more stuff at the gym, is there any particular message you would like to give right now to Hunter Samson?
I mean, I feel like I've said enough in this interview here about how much I hate Hunter Samson. And it seems to me recently that he's getting a bit big for his head. He goes to the gym. I see all his promo pictures. I see his Instagram. All he does is flex. And yeah, he's 6'7". Yeah, he's 240 pounds. Like, fair enough. But he's a 6'7" giant piece of trash who feels like I feel he's a bit too self-entitled at some points. And that might be arrogant coming from me. But I genuinely believe I am one of the best up-and-coming talents in Scottish wrestling. And for Hunter Samson to try and downgrade me like what he did at the last show, I'm not having that. So when it comes to the lumberjack match, when it comes to me and Hunter Samson, one-on-one in that ring, I'm going to show him why I'm sensational, why I am the TV star that I am, and why I am Umar Mohammed.
I think that's a very good, clear and cut point there, Omar. And obviously, no matter what happens at this next PWR show, whoever walks out, I think could definitely be called the true hardest man for whoever walks away on 2 feet. Well, folks, thank you for tuning in here for another episode of the Soul Sessions. And of course, what I do with every guest, if you love what you've heard of the sensation here, the TV star himself, I will include a link to Umar Mohammed's Instagram link in the description of this video. You can click it, follow his journey, and see the rise of the TV sensation across the Scottish scene. Well, folks, I guess all that needs to say right now is, well, that is a wrap. That's us, buddy.
You just need to buy one of these ones instead. At the next Power Pro show, you need to get an actual TV's Umar Mohammed clapperboard, all right? We can't be having that.
Sadly, I'm a man with a budget, but you know what? For you, I'll fork it out. Well, folks, that's a